I remember the day that I found out I was undocumented.
Oh, I saw this video.
This is about immigration.
I got a call from an admissions office from a university that I had applied to. They wanted to see a green card. I was extremely embarrassed.
Damn, that
my
sucks.
mother just started crying. In between her tears, she just started apologizing and told me that it was her fault and that she wanted a better future for us. And
this kills me. Every time I hear about immigration, it breaks my heart.
That's Juan Escalante. When he was 11 years old, Juan and his family came to the United States from Venezuela, where life had become dangerous.
Oh,
we were driving, and we stopped at a red light, and a man approaches the car, and he tells my mother if she doesn't surrender the car to him, he is going to pull out a gun.
Oh my God.
Kids in the car, right there.
I hate this.
That's fucking scary.
Picked up everything, we sold all our toys, and, just embarked on this journey.
Yeah, look, you see?
Juan made it.
Gotta get away from that. That's one thing that a lot of people don't understand, and I feel like even when they're told about it, they don't really process it thoroughly. The fact that people escape violence.
Juan made it to college and graduated.
Nice.
But because
it's good on the parents, because I think they were mostly thinking of their kids like, we gotta get them to a place where they're not only safe, but like maybe they have some opportunities.
Because he was undocumented, he couldn't work, and he worried about being deported.
Even like a trip to the grocery store, and you get pulled over, and that's it, it's game over.
Exactly, game over.
But that changed in June of 2012.
Effective immediately.
Obama!
The Department of Homeland Security is taking steps to lift the shadow of deportation from these young people.
Thank you, Obama, for that.
If you'd come to the U.S. when you were under 16, if you were either in high school or had a high school diploma, and if you had either no criminal record or like a teeny tiny misdemeanor,
then you could apply for the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, or DACA program.
I know people who are in DACA, and they're scared.
Basically, a permit that protects you from getting deported and allows you to work legally in the U.S.
I love this. This is such a good idea.
Juan got this protection, and so did nearly 800,000 others who applied. But now, that protection is gone.
This just hit so hard.
I'm here today to announce that the program
get out of here!
that was effectuated
Jeff Sessions.
known as DACA, that was effectuated under the Obama administration, is being rescinded.
What?
God, that's heartbreaking. Because it's 800,000 people. Like, that's not a small number.
DACA was designed to protect a generation of young, undocumented immigrants known as Dreamers, named after a bill called the DREAM Act, which had been floating around Congress for more than a decade, and with bipartisan support.
That's the coolest thing to me. And that was a huge eye-opener when I first found out about the bipartisanship on this issue,
The bill would have given unauthorized immigrants who grew up in the U.S. a way to gain legal status and eventually apply for citizenship. And even though it fell short of 60 Senate votes in 2010, the idea was still popular with the American public.
That's great.
But in 2014, Obama proposed making older immigrants eligible for DACA and creating similar protections against deportation for undocumented parents with children who were U.S. citizens.
Which, yeah, would have been awesome.
and a lot of Republicans said, whoa, that's too far.
A group of 26
Of course.
People are just so horrible to other people. I don't understand.
A group of 26 states sued the Obama administration over the expansion, and they won. Then came Donald Trump.
Of course. I feel like that's been the headline for most of 2017.
When Mexico sends its people, they're not sending their best. They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists.
When Trump
He makes me so mad. Me and my whole family are Latino, and hearing that, it's awful because none of us are any of those things.
DACA's fate seemed sealed.
That was my biggest fear when he got elected. It was just, I didn't really know what was going to happen to me.
Nearly 8 months into his term, he still hadn't ended DACA.
Trump's un cobarde. He's a coward. He can't make the decision, and he gave it to Congress.
So a bunch of states threatened to sue the government over DACA again if Trump didn't get rid of it. Which brings
Really? That's what happened?
A survey of DACA recipients found nearly 70% got a job with better pay. More than 60% opened their first bank account.
Yeah, that's huge.
65% bought their first car, and a similar share say that they've pursued education.
It's heartwarming when you see how many opportunities you're able to now have because of this.
When these protections expire over the coming weeks, months, or years, they'll be back where they started before 2012.
Shouldn't be happening.
Unable to work legally and constantly at risk for deportation.
These are just people trying to have a better life.
It's really one view, Right now, we're getting a really, really liberal view. Gotta have both views.
America is known for its diversity and we welcome everyone and we have so many different people and different cultures in our country. And then you see stuff like this and you're like, okay, what the heck?
I lean more towards the Republican side than the Democratic side, but that does not mean that I'm a Trump supporter. This whole situation, I'm sorry, I just cannot agree with that, and I think that's one area where he's in the wrong.
The thing that I don't get is why so many people want to bash us down and throw us away for that. It's just a hard thing to really understand. Even for me as a Daca recipient, you know, a lot of these things are really hard to understand. All we want is a better life.
Most of them have never even been, like, to their home country since they moved to the United States. Most of them don't, like, speak the language. Oh my God, I'm, like, tearing up. I'm not even, like, personally, like, affected by it because, like, obviously I didn't, like, you know, immigrate here or anything like that, but it just makes me, like, so mad.
What people don't understand is that the United States has the potential to be an amazing country. But it makes it so hard when you have people like this in office. Like, there's just, like, you just can't do anything about it. And that's, like, the hardest part. Where has humanity gone to the point where you don't even want people to be successful for your personal agenda?
So that was a video explaining Daca put out by Vox. Before we go into it, are you personally impacted by what's happening with Daca in any way?
No, but, like, obviously we all have access to the internet, and, like, I've seen already like hundreds of stories.
I'm not directly affected by it. However, I am hearing these stories, and it's, of course, disappointing to hear.
These kids don't even know what they're getting into because it's their parents bringing them over, you know? But they know that it's better here than it was where they originally started from.
I do have family who is not documented. And I have family that is undocumented and is not protected by Daca.
I know a lot of people in my classes. These people have worked so hard. And the fact that now it's like everything's at risk and they're so scared, like that breaks my heart.
My parents weren't born here, right? So they were in Mexico and, you know, things aren't really so good over there. To drop everything, to come to a new country, to give your, you know, not even yet born children a chance. You know, it's it's unbelievable.
I am currently a recipient of Daca, and I have been since the beginning. I remember when Daca, like in the beginning before Obama had even announced it, how there were talks about how he was going to probably do something like that. My mom, I remember that's probably like one of the happiest times I've seen her ever talk to me, was when she could finally tell me that I was probably gonna have a chance at life now. You're finally able to breathe for a second. It gives you, you know, because while it still leaves you in limbo, it still takes you out of the shadows.
So someone who is enrolled in the program yourself, how do you feel now knowing that the program is in the process of being rescinded?
That's honestly a scary thought, especially now after I've benefited so much from Daca, you know? Like, I'm able to have a full-time job now. I'm able to go to school. I'm able to do React. If it wasn't for Daca, if it wasn't for my work permit, I wouldn't be able to be here sitting down, you know, talking to everybody about this. You have all these dreams, you have all these aspirations, you have all these goals in life, and to think that all of that might get taken away from you while people want me out, you know, I can still learn to appreciate and be grateful for everything that I've been able to have in this country, you know, because I know for a damn fact that I wouldn't have the life I'm living now if I was still back in Mexico. That's the whole reason my parents even decided to bring me over here.
So let's get into both sides of the issue. There are many reasons some people may be okay with Daca ending, including the feeling that it allows people who entered the country illegally to benefit from living in the country regardless of what age they were when they arrived. It can be a way for potential criminals to get into the country, and that by allowing this loophole for minors, it will encourage more parents to try to sneak their children into the country illegally, and they need to follow the law.
Right, absolutely.
What do you think about this argument?
It's a fair argument. But at the same time, one bad apple doesn't mean the whole batch is rotten.
I honestly, like, I do get it. And I do really, like, value kind of seeing both sides to different issues and stuff, even though I am pretty liberal. But it's really hard because I feel like really like emotionally biased to one side just because like my parents themselves like came when they were really young. These immigrants help our economy. Like I feel like there's some value definitely in them. And for sure there should be a legal way to citizenship rather than shutting your door and yelling at people for coming in illegally in the first place.
That argument makes absolutely no sense. That just proves that we need a better immigration act. Allow them to have the resources to be able to figure out and understand how to get here.
It's illegal, you know, and obviously you want to abide the nation's laws, but like at the same time, it's like borderline inhumane to separate families and to say, okay, this person can stay, but you gotta go thousands of miles away from them and like maybe never see them again.
Those against Daca are always like, well, at the end of it, it's a legal issue. Too bad, you know? Get in line like everybody else that's waiting to come here legally. Some people don't have the money to be able to come here, you know? And there's that saying that desperate times call for desperate measures. And I feel like all those against DACA don't really understand that.
When you grow up in America, you realize that there's systematic oppression and that the way that things are set up, the system just does not work to your benefit. So the only way you're able to thrive is through playing the system. We shouldn't rescind it. We shouldn't get rid of it. We should find a way to fix it.
If you were in a place where, you know, like Juan and his family, you were going to be robbed at gunpoint or your child would die, like, wouldn't you want your kid to have, like, the best life that they possibly could, regardless of how that ends up being? I understand the concern of, like, illegal immigrants coming into the country, but what a lot of people are saying is, oh, they're stealing our jobs, they're bringing in drugs, they're bringing in crime, but a lot of these people, they're already towing the line. They're too afraid of having their DACA removed and then being deported that they're not going to do anything like that. You can't really stop this from happening. Like, it's going to continue to happen, even if there is a will, people are going to find a way, because, you know, when there's a will, there's a way. These people want better lives for their children, even if it's going to cost them, like, their lives.
So on the other side, the people who support DACA will discuss that these kids didn't choose to be illegal when they arrived, and now that they're here, many of them have become an asset to society, and DACA has allowed them to come forward and have since established lives since being told it was okay to stay here 5 years ago. But now are being told something completely different, and their families or lives might have been torn apart because of it. So what do you think about that argument?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think that's also valid. Once they get into the nation, like, I think it should be up to them whether or not they want to stay.
I don't think it's an issue of legality. I think it's more of like a moral question. You have all these young people who are living such prosperous lives now, you know, and that genuinely want that, you know. They're not here for any malicious intent. Why is it a human crime to see people thrive and prosper?
What about the kids who are, like, in the middle of college or in the middle of school, and then the government comes in and says, you have to go back home, like, you can't really be here anymore because you're illegal? I can't even imagine that. Everyone should be able to have a chance to start a life in America.
You feel betrayed in the country that you have given your, like, trust in. You're like, this country's gonna help me, right? Because I'm in the shit position, so I need help from my country, and then the country says, I'm gonna help you, but then, nope, not really.
They finally feel safe in a country where we're like, oh, we're the land of the free, you guys can come here to start your life, to, like, pursue something that maybe you can't wherever you come from, and they're finally given this opportunity, and now it's just being taken away from them, no matter what, when they're putting everything that they have online, and you know, what's going to come out of it? Nothing, because they're not going to be able to, like, continue their lives here, and all the things that they worked for are for nothing.
If you've contributed, you've done your part, you've gone to school, you have a new life, you're an American, you know, paper or not. You do things for this country that a lot of people don't want to do. To take basically their will and their rights to be happy, it's like if you don't have a will to be happy, then what else is there?
So finally, what is happening now is a 6-month period before the removal of the program is fully implemented, which is being claimed was done so that Congress would have time to find a permanent solution to the issue. Otherwise, those who are enrolled in the program will no longer be protected and could get deported. However you feel about this issue, this is now in the hands of Congress, so what would you like to say to your representatives about how to handle this situation?
Just make the right choice. And, like, I say, imagine yourself in their shoes and imagine what you might be going through in this situation, because if you were in that situation, you wouldn't want to be taken away from what you were trying so hard, desperately to work towards.
I appreciate what you guys are doing because this is a tough-ass decision. It should be family-based and maybe not citizenship-based.
If you're going to rescind DACA, if you're going to get rid of DACA, do it because you're going to help these immigrant children in an even better way. Protect these people. That's it's your job, right? Do your job.
The best way to handle the issue is to rework the entire immigration program, because you need to make it so it works for everyone in their favor and their situation. Find a way to allow the Immigration Act to allow the people that are already here and working and providing for this country and keeping our economy up.
My parents were able to get amnesty under President Reagan, and I feel like it should work the same way here, where it's you've promised these DACA students and workers something, and you need to keep your promise and at least give them citizenship.
All of these kids, they did not, you know, choose to come here. They were brought here by their families to pursue a better life. They are not doing anything wrong, and it doesn't make sense to take this program away from them. Something needs to be done to help them because they're just innocent people.
Right or left, Republican or Democrat, you're a human. And these people are human. There's a lot of opportunities here that are literally nowhere else. And a lot of people aren't exposed to that. But I'll tell you what, there are people that literally have nothing else to live than the fact that they're gonna be able to make it here.
Ideally, what I want to see is, not only for myself, but for every other dreamer, at some point, we're no longer stuck in limbo. We're no longer thrown back and forth. Because genuinely, what I want is a life where I can focus on being American. I want to focus on having a family. I want to focus on buying a house. I want to focus on all these good things that you can only genuinely probably get in America, because that's the American dream. None of that comes easy. Like, trust me, I know that. But I think that's the power of dreamers. We don't quit.